House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, who was just in there with the president and the other GOP leaders at the White House. Sir, welcome. Good to have you with us tonight.
Good to be with you, Martha.
So how did it go in there, and how is progress moving along with all this?
It went really well. You know, we talked with President Trump and Vice President Pence about moving forward on our agenda, about repealing and replacing Obamacare, about cutting taxes for families and creating jobs and getting the economy back on track. And there's been obviously good movement in the House. We've passed the health care bill. The Senate's working on that, and we talked about the steps that are being taken to get through the Senate so that the bill can pass ultimately and get to President Trump's desk. So a lot of really productive conversations about how we get this agenda not only moving forward in the House and Senate, but signed by President Trump.
I mean, as you say, you guys did your part on the first, part A. Now it's part B, and it looks a little tougher in the Senate. You have some very strong dissension, it appears, from Senator Rand Paul. You can only lose a couple of votes. Lindsey Graham was just on moments ago, and he seems to be suggesting that he'll do what he can to get to 50, he said. But he said, to the president, don't own something that you don't have to own. He seems to be leaning towards letting it collapse over time and then bringing Democrats to the table. Why is that a good idea or not?
Well, first of all, we all are seeing the failures of Obamacare play out across this country. Ohio just had the announcement by Anthem that they're literally pulling out of more and more counties in Ohio. I'm sorry. Iowa already had almost their entire marketplace collapse. In Louisiana, my home state, we've seen over 120% increases since Obamacare took effect. It's not responsible for us to sit by and let this train wreck happen. We're trying to rescue people from the calamities of Obamacare, and I think that's the right thing to do. It's what we campaigned on, and we've got to deliver. We passed a bill out of the House that will lower premiums and put patients back in charge of their health care while protecting people with pre-existing conditions.
But a lot of people criticize, let me just jump in if I may, a lot of people criticize the House for that big ceremony at the White House, saying, look, you're only at best about a quarter of the way there. You've got a long haul here. And I think one of the things that people on your side of the aisle are concerned about is that there's not enough unity in the GOP and perhaps not enough support for the president's agenda. Is the Republican Party 100% behind this president and what he wants to accomplish?
Well, I think you House come together in a very united way behind President Trump's agenda, and specifically on passing the repeal and replace bill. And now the ball's in the Senate's court. They're working very hard to get there. I talked today not only with Leader McConnell, but John Cornyn, the Senate whip, and they're working very hard to build that same consensus. And look, Martha, they're running into the same issues that we ran into in the House, and that is we all know Obamacare is failing, and I don't think anybody wants to sit on the sidelines and just watch it collapse, because it's millions of people who are losing health care. It's millions of families that are paying double-digit increases with $10,000, $12,000 deductibles. The law doesn't work. We need to change it. And ultimately, I think there's a framework that we passed in the House to show how to do it. If the Senate can make it better, that's great. But I think it's important they pass a bill.
I mean, polls show that this is a very serious issue for a lot of voters out there. They want action on this. And so just one more time, I want to press you on this. Can the GOP come together on this issue? You were in there with the Senate leadership. We all know that there's difficulty with at least 2 votes on the Senate side. So how confident are you, and when do you think that Americans can expect to see something clear the Senate and get back into conference? Give us a time frame.
Well, first of all, I think it's imperative that we get this done. And again, we passed it in the House. I'm very confident the Senate can come together and get something passed, too. They've got their own challenges that they're working through. I think you've seen Leader McConnell talk about July 4th as a deadline that they'd like to achieve, getting a bill brought up to the Senate floor and voted on and hopefully passed. So that's a good timeline, I think, to look at. But again, they're doing the work they need to do, just like we did in the House. And it's important, not just to President Trump, but to the country, that we we provide relief for families from Obamacare.
All right. Majority Whip Congressman Steve Scalise, thank you, sir. Always good to see you.
Thanks.